Welcome back, nerdy movie fans. So let's talk about Ready or Not 2, Here I Come. Now, the title alone had me hooked. I mean, I was sold. So this is obviously the sequel to Ready or Not, which I got the Blu-ray copy here. It's not even really a special copy. This is a standard Blu-ray. I'm hoping this movie might end up in 4K. If it isn't already and I just don't know about it, hopefully this sequel's release will put not only the sequel in 4K when it releases, but this one will they'll go back and maybe make a 4K. It seemed like something that Scream Factory could just make this really cool steelbook kind of box art. It just, in my mind, it seems like something that's right up their alley. But irregardless, this movie I thought was very interesting. It takes everything from the first one and just sort of dials it up. Nothing's really undone, nothing really undercuts the first one's story. This just builds upon it. It really does make it feel like a part one and two of the same movie. I mean, this one picks up right where this one left off. And so what I really liked about it is they just sort of went right into it. They didn't waste any time. It felt like they had a story, and they just didn't want to waste any time with it. So picks up where the first one left off. We get to the hospital. We get Grace's sister, Faith, who shows up in this hospital. So pretty much what we've seen from the trailer is they just rush into that, but it doesn't feel too rushed. It's just skipping, some long introduction or something. Some movies have stuff like that. This one didn't, and I thought that was pretty cool. So we obviously have Grace had, she's already been a victim of a crazy family, but now in this one we got multiple families, and so as we see from the trailer, where Grace and her sister are taken hostage, and then these families, they all try to hunt the two of them down. It sort of twisted up my expectations. I thought, okay, this is a movie. We have our two main characters. They're going to kill everyone else, and that'll be the exact ending. I thought I could just predict the ending entirely. And that's not what happened, or at least not that way. So what I thought was really cool, the first thing is we're getting into spoilers here. So you've been warned. So not every single family member dies in these games. There's an aftermath to the games, which was also a twist, that in of itself. And so the expectation of each family member just being killed one by one all across the board, that was my first expectation. So for that to not happen already made it a more enjoyable experience, just knowing that they went against expectations, because I thought this could have just been a clear standard story, but that's not what it was. So of course we get Grace and Faith have this sort of this tension, this hostile dynamic between the two of them, where they both felt like they didn't really need the other. One feels like the other left them, and so they just have this tension. But now we're forced in an extreme survival scenario. So although this movie is very much about survival, the lore behind these other families and the organization they're a part of, that part of the movie, of these villains for this kind of movie, the lore was expanded by a lot. I mean, there's a lot going on with what the organization controls, how they control it, how a leader is decided to control it all. So all of that was sort of explained in the beginning, before we got to the games, which is what everyone sort of expects out of the movie like this, because that's what happened with the first one. That's what the trailer shows will happen in this one too. So it just gave us a lot of explanation for a lot of different characters, and I was assuming that all of the explanations might not matter for all of the characters, but it ended up mattering in some form or fashion because of how these characters treated the game. Some respected the rules to a T. Some were trying to bend them. Some were reckless with it. And so to have those sort of multiple dynamics collide in this extreme survival kind of storyline, it just made it wildly entertaining. It's violent, it's bloody. Of course, if you're a fan of the first one, you have the spontaneous combustion with all of the blood everywhere. So there's a lot of that. And the violence is just made to be entertaining. It never feels like it's in some kind of moment where you're squeamish or it's just too much. It's just in a fun kind of way. And so with the different families, we have Ursula and Titus. These are a brother and sister of the other families. They're sort of the main characters of the villains for this movie. And so they're getting more of the screen time as a family or as a brother and sister duo than the other family members. And it sets up some interesting things because we start to see a little bit about how they would control it. They have ideas of what they would do were they in charge, and we get to see sneak peeks of them sort of, you realize they would betray the other. They both want to control this organization, but they're family. But does that really matter? So those are the things you're toying with throughout all the action going on and the storylines developing and all the storylines coming sort of unraveled into our final act, which was just absolutely the last thing I could have predicted for a final act to be in this movie. So as all the family members, of course, some of them are dying, some are finding loopholes to not have to fight, others are getting killed, some are just leaving. Of course, Faith and Grace can't leave. They try, and it just didn't pan out for them. So as the storyline is progressing toward our final act, we get this little rule that is, I guess, in the fine print of all of their rules, and Elijah Wood plays a lawyer. I don't recall his character really ever being named. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the credits names him as the lawyer. And so he's the one explaining everything, and he plays such an interesting role because you don't really see him play that kind of role before, but he played it so well. And he sort of has the maturity of the situation compared to the rest of the other family members. Some are responsible, some are actual children, some are reckless with it, whereas the lawyer, he's just, here's the rules, here's what needs to happen, here's what you need to do, here's what you need to do. If you don't, here's the fallout. So he sort of explains everything to us as fans watching what's going on. And it is revealed that there is a little detail in the fine print where if Grace marries one of the members, then that member controls everything and the games end. And so Grace, considering doing this, this was a storyline that happened a couple times throughout the movie, but right before our final act, she decides to do it to save her sister, who had been taken hostage again at this point in the movie. And so this is where the games end. And some families still have members left. So this is what just canceled out and blew away all my expectations. Because I thought the games would continue till Grace and Faith killed every single one of them. That's the ending I was expecting. But now we're going to an ending where we have surviving members, and she's marrying into this family, and you're just wondering, is this going to pan out? Is she actually going to marry him? Is she going to take over? I mean, you start getting a lot of different guesses, and it's hard to pinpoint which of them might actually happen. And so that just sort of made it exciting to try to wonder, hey, what's going on next? When you have a movie that you think is going to go a certain way, and then to your surprise goes against the expectations, in my opinion, that just makes it more exciting. So that was my theater experience, as being excited by all the different things happening that was not what I thought would have panned out. And so Titus and Ursula sort of have this tension throughout the whole movie. And right as Titus is ready to marry Grace, he kills his sister because he's about to be in control. She sort of always babied him and treated him like a child, and he's tired of it. And he makes a statement how the rules don't really say anything about family members killing their own family members. Even though in the rules, if they kill a different family member, then they're both pretty much disqualified. But so he kills his sister, and Grace is like, wow, okay, now there's no one left to control him. She's about to marry in. It just seems kind of hopeless for these characters. But as the marriage happens, which is the next thing that went against my expectations, is after they're married, she uses Titus's line against him, saying there's nothing in the rules about killing a family member. So after she marries him, then attacks him. And there's another little thing in the fine print about the lawyer says that they're Hail Satan. Basically, Satan, he wouldn't be happy if no one has a ring by dawn. So Grace throws the ring into this sacrificial pit, and all the leftover characters are trying to fight for it. They're trying to take control as it's approaching dawn. So Now the ending you get is no one's in control, thus killing off all the rest of the characters. There is no organization. Grace and Faith survive after all, and to my surprise, the lawyer survives too, which I thought was kind of interesting. So, Grace and Faith do get their happy ending, as some probably would have expected, but they didn't expect to get their happy ending in that kind of a way. And everything that happened in between was just so exciting. So, I absolutely love this movie. Like I said, it turns everything up from the first one. It just dials everything up, more violent, more blood, more spontaneous combustion, especially in the final act. And everything's just kind of crazy. There's more comedy in it as well, with some of the other families being irresponsible, or some of them are children. And so there's just a lot of comedic moments that I wasn't expecting, but it was written and performed so well. It just fits seamlessly into the rest of the movie. So I absolutely love this one. I can't wait to hear what people are saying about it. Check it out. This is definitely one to see in the theater, just because of how exciting it is. So let me know. And thanks for watching. Keep it digging, guys. Until next time.